Team McKinney. Thank you so much for coming back to check out my channel. Or if this is your first time, thank you so much for coming to check me out. Today's topic is going to be seller's closing costs. Alright, so today's topic again, seller's closing costs. So, you decided to sell your house. Awesome! But you're probably thinking, how much is it going to cost me? Well, I have an easy method to help you out to figure out if selling your house is right for you right now. So, there's two ways I break it down to make it simple. So, these are the two ways to break it down to make seller's closing costs easy to remember. One, there's fixed costs. Those are costs you can't change, right? Those are what they are. And then there's variable costs, which are things that can change, right? So let's talk about those two ways to break down seller's closing costs. So under fixed costs, there's 5 different things I'm going to cover to break down fixed costs even more for you. A, do you have a mortgage on your home right now? Or is your house completely paid off? If you have a mortgage on your home right now or any other liens, so any other equity lines, if you have a jumbo loan or a VHDA loan where a second was held on the property, which would be a second lien because your mortgage on your house is a lien on your deed to your property, those have to be paid off at closing. B, do you have any other liens like medical bills, it could be child support? Do you have any other liens on your property? And if you don't know the answer to that, that's fine. All that's going to be pulled up when you go to closing. If you are concerned, if you have any liens, you can get that pulled anytime that you own the house. Or even if you don't own the house, you can get a title company to pull that. If I have a client that says they're not sure, we usually try to get that pulled in advance just to be safe. C, your taxes. So depending on when you close in the year, you're going to owe taxes from January to whatever date you close on. So if you've already paid up your taxes through your mortgage, or if you don't have a mortgage, you would have paid them yourself out of pocket. Or if you're a senior, depending on what city you live in the Hampton Roads, you may not have any taxes at all. But I want to talk to the people who do have taxes. So your city taxes, so whatever date you close and you go backwards to January for the year, you'll have to pay that also. So actually, let's talk about the people who don't have a mortgage. If you are free and clear, no mortgage, and let's just say maybe it's a family's house. I'm just thinking this might be some people out here. You might have a family's house that was paid off. There may be back taxes. That has to be paid when you close too. And they will find that out when they pull the deed for the property. Next thing is D. Are you in an association? Are you in a condo association, a homeowners association? If you are going to owe money for the package. So before a buyer purchases your property, they have a time period of about 3 days or 72 hours that they have to review the condo or homeowner association package to make sure they're okay with the rules, the regulations, the bylaws of the property. So that package costs money. Those associations, they make money off that stuff. So they're going to charge you for that. So you'll pay that at closing too. Typically, that's around $350. I've seen them some charge $250, $322. But that's a fixed cost because you can't get away from paying that. And E, the grantor's tax. You're like, what is the grantor's tax? Well, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is where we practice real estate, there is a tax that the state or the Commonwealth charges you anytime you sell your property. So when you sell your property, you pay $1 per 1,000 of the purchase price. So let's break that down even further. If your house is $300,000, you're going to pay $300 for the grantor's tax. And I'll put the formula down in the comment below because I know some people actually are visual learners. All right. Okay, so let's talk about variable expenses. that it takes for closing on the property as a seller. So I'm going to break it into 5 areas to make it simple too. First one is, who are you going to get to represent you for your closing? Are you going to use an attorney, or are you going to use a title company? So in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you can choose whether you're going to use an attorney or a title company to handle your closing. That's going to be the person who's going to help with getting the title work, reviewing the title work. The buyer side's company is actually going to pull the title work for your property. Your company is actually going to review and get all your paperwork set up and get your deed ready to be able to transfer to the next person. So who are you going to get to use? In our area, so the way I usually break it down to people to kind of understand is, an attorney's office and a title company can both handle your closing. The only thing is, an attorney practices law. So they can practice law. If anything legal comes up and you have any questions, you can ask your attorney. If you go to a title company, there is typically not an attorney that is present in the group. There are some exceptions where there's some attorneys who have title companies. So that's the way I break it down. So there's a difference in cost, right? Because if you use an attorney, they're a little bit more money, and usually they are worth it. And usually a title company is a little bit less expensive because they don't have an attorney that's handling over your closing. It's a preference, not a big deal. So, when you get to that point, you'll decide. But depending on who you use, that's a variable expense, right? Because you can shop around. So you're not only paying for the experience of them handling all the paperwork at the end of your closing, but there's other expenses that are part of that. So when you close, you're going to have funds. Most likely you're going to make some money at the end. So are you going to pick up a check? Typically that's free in our area. If you get it wired, which is wired to your bank account, typically that office that does the closing is going to charge you some money. Their bank is going to charge them some money, so they charge it back to you. Are you going to be closing out of state? If you are, they're going to have to FedEx a package. That cost gets passed back over to you. Do you need a notary to sit with you to sign over the paperwork if you're closing out of town? Well, that cost gets passed over to you. When you return that mail back from that FedEx, they usually have the postage on there already prepaid. That expense gets passed back over to you. If there's any courier that's involved, as far as having a courier to pick up the paperwork from that title company or that attorney's office and to be brought over to the buyer's title company and attorney's office, because in our area, we have evolved where buyers and sellers typically use different offices. There are some occasions where buyer and sellers use the same closing office, but we have kind of evolved into everybody using their own people, so they have their own representation. So those are going to be the expenses that comes along with who you're going to pick for a settlement agent. Right. So B, are you giving the buyer any buyer concessions, which are closing costs, anything that will induce them to purchase your property? Are you offering that? Or maybe you're not offering that. And maybe you just know in the back of your mind, if a buyer asks you for closing costs, you'll be willing to pay for that. Well, we typically will estimate that out for you and tell you what the current trend is. So right now, depending on what city you live in, what neighborhood you live in, it can all vary from South Side to Peninsula and the Hampton Roads, but you could be paying anywhere from 6% of closing costs all the way to no % closing costs, just depending on how your market's doing. So you want to be able to get a gauge on how much that's going to be. So you want to get an estimate for that, the closing costs. Is the buyer going to ask you for a home warranty? Depending on the market. It depends on how the market's trending. So you want to know that from your agent too. Are buyers asking for home warranties? Or maybe that's something you want to offer as far as your marketing. And then C, repairs. Are you doing any repairs to the property? So there's a few times along the transaction you possibly will be doing repairs. The first part of doing repairs could be just for you getting your house ready to go on the market. Do you need to do some repairs? Those expenses are variable because you can shop those prices. 2, home inspection. Has the buyer done home inspection? So if the buyer has done home inspection, they may be asking you to do repairs. Well, those are variable because, again, you can shop the pricing of people to do those repairs. And then termite and moisture and appraisal, I'll put those together. Repairs could come up in that. Most of the time, they do not. Most of the time, you're going to find out where repairs come up at is home inspection time. Because you got to remember, a house is a house. There's a lot of materials that have been brought from outdoors, indoors to a house. And so they usually need to be maintained. It could be the smallest detail. And also, too, the laws change as far as items that have to be upgraded or brought up to standard. And it depends on if you've done any renovations. That's a whole nother spiel. But anyways, just be prepared. Typically for a home inspection, a home inspector is going to find something. Whether it has to do with your roof, your HVAC, your electrical, they'll find something. And then the buyer typically will ask you to do something. And so that's going to be a repair cost for you. Okay, so D, this is an important one. Variable expense, your real estate commissions. Or I should say, our real estate commissions. How much are you going to pay your agent to sell your house? So this is a variable expense because you can negotiate that. Do I want you to negotiate me down on how much I pay, how much I charge to sell your house? Heck no. But you need to know that that is a variable expense. So when you are getting together, when you're getting together to list your house, you are going to get together with your listing agent to talk about your total amount of money you're going to charge, or they're going to charge you, to sell your house. And then typically that's broken in half with the buyer side. That's a typical thing. But in your contract, it will tell you how much your total is and how much will go to the buyer side. There are some instances where your agent may recommend that you should offer a bonus out to the buyer side agent. And that all depends on the market time, how much inventory is in your neighborhood. So, but the big thing is your real estate commissions, and under that bonus would be your real estate commissions. And E, termite and moisture. Typically, the buyer is going to ask you to do the termite moisture inspection. They may ask that they pick the company, but they normally will ask the seller to pay. That cost is usually really small. There's actually some companies in our area that will do the service for no charge. And there's some companies that will go all up to, I think I've seen $100 for it. Normally in our market, it's like $65, $85, but there are some companies who offer specials where they won't charge you any money, or they could charge up to $100. And that is just to perform the termite and moisture inspection on your property. So if you have decided to sell your home, I hope this video is very insightful to help you to know more about how much it's going to cost you to sell your house. Also, I'll put in the comments below, I have a Google form that we usually use for a seller's net sheet. So before we put a house on the market, we'll give you a breakdown of all the costs. And then each time you get an offer on your property, we also update that spreadsheet. And that just allows you to understand, to know how much money you're going to put in your pocket when you sell your house. All right, so if you have any questions, you have any comments, please contact me. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel. I would love for you to get an update of every time we post out a new video. So if you have decided to sell your home, I hope this video was very insightful to help you to know more about how much it's going to cost you to sell your house. Also, I'll put in the comments below, I have a Google form that we usually use for a seller's net sheet. So before we put a house on the market, we'll give you a breakdown of all the costs. And then each time you get an offer on your property, we also update that spreadsheet. And that just allows you to understand, to know how much money you're going to put in your pocket when you sell your house. All right, so if you have any questions, you have any comments, please contact me. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. So I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get a notification each week when a new video comes out. My videos hopefully will be able to assist you navigating through the real estate transaction smoothly.